Canada is known to be a strong promoter of multiculturalism as an ideology, and this stance has greatly shaped the entertainment scene across the country. Local communities enjoy a dynamic infusion of cultural diversity, particularly in music, and notable genres currently trending include Afrobeat music originating from West Africa. African beats have taken the airwaves by storm, rapidly transcending borders and finding a vibrant resonance within the Canadian music landscape. One of the artists that have been instrumental to introducing this infectious rhythm to the local audiences here is Dipo. And Dipo was here with me today talking about his world of music and more. Welcome to the studio, Dipo.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. So can you share with us a bit about your musical background? I know for most people, not just in music, but in any profession, most people built a kingdom for themselves in Africa and had to give that kingdom up to start a new life in a new home, in a new land. So can you, factor that in this background journey?
Okay, yeah. If I'm to start like from the very beginning, like music, I got introduced to music the way I know music today by my dad. So he listened to a variety of music, like from King Sunny Ade to Bob Marley, to Stevie Wonder, to Barista, Fuji,
So that's high life, Fuji,
Juju, soul,
reggae.
So all encompassing, right?
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of my journey. And so I would find myself like maybe when I'm doing chores in the house, I'm just singing to myself, or maybe I'm playing a tape and just vibing along helps me get through my chore, and that's how I got into music. And then I started writing my own songs when I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
Then I would listen to Boys to Men, and then I would try to copy their melody, but I would put in my own words, and then slowly like that but I put out my first single in Nigeria in 2009 or 10.
Yeah.
And that was the song Be Your Man.
Be Your Man, Dipo, yeah. Be Your Man.
So when I say, do you feel my pee? She say, Oladipo, I dey feel your pee. Feel your anything you want, you can tell me. I'm Oladipo, I can be your man. Baby, I can be your man.
So that was a combination of all of my influences in music growing up.
Right.
So because the song is a soulful song, but it's kind of like Afro-soul, right? Because it had percussions, talking drums, and I was speaking in Yoruba, and Pidgin English, and English, so it was a mixture. And the tune itself was kind of like a little jazzy.
Yeah.
So it's just like a mesh of, so when I put it out, it was different, and people were like, what is this?
It was unique.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
Afro-soul, you call it.
I would say my music is, the base of my music is soul, but then it's mixed up with so many other things, like high life, a little bit of Fuji influence in the percussions and the talking drums, and a little bit of R&B.
Yeah. So a cocktail.
It's a cocktail. Yeah, that's the perfect word.
A cocktail made in Africa. Did you have a huge fan and follower base back home?
I don't know if it's huge, but I mean, I had, a good following.
Yeah.
When I started back home in Nigeria, which led me to perform on the same stage with some of the biggest acts at the time. I remember like opening for Asha back in 2010, and I also opened for the late Hugh Masekela
Oh, wow.
at Lagos Jazz Festival. A few other, like I opened at a show for Two-Face as well, you know. So I had I won't say huge, but some kind of fellowship. Like
Yeah, you did rub shoulders with some of the big names across the continent.
So people would
of
like
Africa.
my music, and you know they would come to my shows because I would put up shows at some decently sized venues, and people would come. So it was quite nice.
Okay, so you gave all that up for life in Canada. What prompted that move?
Oh, to be honest, I didn't want to come to Canada.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because up until that point, I had not left Nigeria at all. And then the kind of stories you hear from people who are abroad, some of them were not so encouraging. Like, oh, if you come here, if you were a banker back home, you might end up selling burger at McDonald's or stuff like that.
So you would give up your kingdom.
You understand? Exactly.
And have to start over.
Exactly.
In something you may
so,
not
and
need
back then, even while I was making music, I still had a 9-to-5. I worked in the bank in Nigeria. And so I got married. So that was how Canada even came into the conversation. My wife is Canadian. So when I got married, and she was like, okay, we're moving there. At first, I told her, you know what, let's stay in Nigeria, and then maybe we can go on holidays to Canada. And she agreed. And then she came. We had a first baby at the time. It was like 4 months old. So she came up with the baby. But then the stress of maintaining them to a certain kind of standard that they've been used to living in Canada.
Right.
It was not so smooth for me. Like, okay, so my typical day, I'm up by like 4 a.m. trying to get to work to avoid traffic. And so I'm out of the house like maybe 5:15. And coming back home, I won't get back home until like maybe 11:30, 12 midnight.
Right.
So I barely get any sleep. I have to make sure there's constant power at home. So running generators morning to night, night to morning. It was
so the challenges of the system.
Oh, it was super stressful.
Right.
So one day I just told her, I said, you know what? There's nothing in that Canada that can be this stressful. So let's go.
Wow.
And that's how we moved back to Canada. Yeah.
So since relocating, how has this influenced or impacted your music, particularly in the area maybe of how you write your songs or how you deliver them? Because, I mean, it's a new kingdom you're building here.
Yeah. In terms of writing, I wouldn't say it has really changed much, because even from back home, I've always had this, I don't want to say Western music influence, like in terms of like the soul, the R&B, you know, so I've always had that even from back home.
Right.
And I'd made songs that, you know, along those lines. So in terms of the writing, it hasn't really changed much, but in terms of like understanding the music scene here in Canada, I would say I'm still navigating. So when I got here, trying to do a show, first of all, I didn't know anybody.
Right.
So to even like get a band together, I didn't know anyone.
Whereas you owned your own band back home.
Back home, I had a band. Like I had guys that 1 minute is just a phone call. Like, hey, get these guys. Let's, you know. But here, nobody.
Wow.
I didn't know anybody. So I went to like a jazz cafe downtown Toronto, and then the guy was playing like was playing Fela, he was playing Orlando Julius, right? So I went to the guy, I'm like, this music you're playing is from my country. You know, I was like, yeah, he really loves that music. The guy is from Jamaica.
Okay.
He was the owner of the place. So I told him about my music, and he listened, and he was like, you know what, come and play here. Like, oh yeah, great, okay. And so this is one thing, a difference that I immediately noticed. So back home, and this is not to say anything bad about anybody,
Right.
but back home, when you are coming up as a musician, most times people who put up shows or promoters, they want you to come and perform for free.
Yeah.
Telling you, oh, this will give you exposure, blah,
Platform.
blah, blah. Which is not a bad thing in itself, you know, depending on how you're trying to move your music career along, you know. But here, I noticed that if they call you to come and perform, up front, they're telling you, this is what this gig is going to pay. Like, so if it works for you, you know, you take it. If it doesn't, you can negotiate and say, okay, this is what will work for me, and then you guys will. But up front, they'll let you know that, you know, I'm not asking you to come and do this for free.
Right.
I'm paying you this.
So the act is respected with payment.
Yes.
You know, for your hours and for
Exactly.
your time.
So the payment may not be like a huge, but at least
an acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement that, you know, this person is coming to spend their time.
Yeah.
And showcase something that they've been practicing, you know, for hours and hours, you know. So that really got me, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I've never heard that before.
That's nice.
And so to put a band together now was the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody. But somehow somebody gave me one guy. I managed to put a group of guys together, but then they were not, they were, the level of musicianship that they had was way below
what you were used
what
to.
I was used to back home, because I had everything. So eventually I didn't do that show, because I told myself, like, no, I can't go and represent myself this way.
Wow.
So I had to, you know, tell the guy that, you know, I'm sorry, blah, 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 I can't do the show. But anyway, that's by the way. But now I have a solid group of guys that I've been working with for, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years now.
That's awesome.
So if I have a show now, like, it's just one phone call. Hey, what's up? Let's go.
Well, that sounds like a success story. You turned it around.
Yes.
So would you say that you've had to reinvent yourself in any way other than having to rebuild your band?
Yes, yes. Even though the style of music that I have is quite eclectic in a way, because 1 minute I can be performing Teddy Pendergrass, and then the next minute I'm singing Selense, which is high life.
Yes.
You know, but even in all of that, now the way the reinvention for me is, like, now I'm looking to get people to write songs for me. Like, I want to get music from other people's perspective.
Okay.
You know, not just mine, because mostly I write all my songs.
Yeah.
Right? But what I've been doing lately is, okay, I have this song, I have an idea. Okay, I'll talk to this guy. You know what? Let's write this song together. Let's give me an idea. Tell me how do you see this idea? How does it work for you? So in that regards, yes. And also in terms of, like, performance, I'm getting used to. So back home, guys would just listen to the song and play it and score it and practice. Here, some guys, like the horns guys, they'll ask you for charts.
Yes.
Like, do you have a chart? That
you
was
want to
new
see the
to me.
scores because they read
Yeah.
music.
Because I, music in terms of, like, black and white, like going to school and learning music that way, I have no knowledge of that.
Okay.
Right? I didn't professionally train to become a musician. So that when they were asking me for charts,
That was new.
I don't know what you mean. I say, so how do we learn the song? I mean, you just listen and play along. but now I know that. So some of my music, I have them charted.
Okay.
You know, so I can give it to anybody and say, okay, this is what we're playing.
Well, that's good.
So, you know, I would say that's part of reinventing, I guess.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, now you're able to, you know, provide music that can be globally read by everyone who understands the global language of music theory.
Exactly, yeah.
Are there any artists or bands or groups that if you had to do a collaboration with, or where you're looking for songwriters, are there particular people who you
yeah. So far I've met one. I mean, I met both of them, but one we've really like met on more than one occasion. There's a guy called Toby.
Okay.
He's Nigerian as well, but he came here when he was like maybe 9 years old.
Okay.
His dad came, so he grew up here. He's a rapper. His style of music is like rap and soul, so he sings and he raps, and it's really cool what he does.
Wow.
So if you get a chance, check him out.
I will.
So we met first at I did a show. I opened for a group called SDC, Show Them Camp, at the Opera House in Toronto, and then we met again at Central Park in New York, also opening for Show Them Camp. And there's another lady called Tomi. She's also Nigerian, but she was born and brought up here as well.
Okay.
She's like a R&B soul singer.
Okay.
And because I particularly would like to work with her because she also speaks French.
Ah, nice.
And I like to play with languages,
Yes.
right? So I would like to have a song where maybe I'm singing in English and she's singing in French, you know.
Oh.
I like to experiment with stuff like that.
So are you working on any new music now? Is there anything in the works?
Yes, there is. I'm actually working on and this is the first time anybody will hear it publicly. I'm working on my debut album.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've put out like maybe 3 EPs, but now I want to do a full-length album. So the first song I've recorded, mixed the first song. The first song is ready, but now I'm debating whether I should put it out as a single or because there's another song, and that's why I'm in Halifax. I came to work with my producer. We worked on like 3 songs over the weekend, and one of them seems like a strong contender for a lead single. So
wow,
we're still, yeah. So working on new music, yes. I'm working on my album. Hopefully, it can be ready maybe before the end of first quarter next year.
That sounds really exciting. Does it have a title yet? Can we sneak in to hear a title name, or is it too soon?
No. I don't have a title yet. Because, I don't have a title yet.
Okay. Well, that's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So where can we find your music if we wanted to check you
My
out?
music is on all the streaming platforms: Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, Amazon, YouTube. Yeah. The
Nice.
music is
And it's simply Dipo, D-I-P-O.
D-I-P-O, Dipo.
Okay. Now, is there any elements of your African heritage that you actively work or intentionally work to preserve in your either songwriting or song presentation?
Yes. So when I'm working on a project, I usually have maybe, let's say, an EP, for instance, the ones that I've worked on in the past. It has like 5 or 6 songs. Some songs you would have elements of like talking drum and percussions in them, or it could be the language that I'm singing in, Yoruba, Pidgin English. So I always try to maintain that in whatever project I'm working on, so that people know that I'm from Nigeria, you know, and I sing in these languages, or my music has this African elements to it. So I always try to have that in whatever project I'm working on.
I've been meaning to ask you this also, in terms of bonding or interacting with your audiences. Do you find that there's any differences between your relationship with your audiences back in Africa and what you experience with your audiences here?
I find that, look, for my type of music is kind of like a niche kind of music.
Yep.
It's not the pop, it's not the popular music. So people who would come to the shows, they would be people who were really into the music.
Right.
So when they're performing, and I always go into the audience when I'm performing, I never stay on the stage.
Nice.
Like I will find a way, except maybe the stage is so high and I can't get down. So it's always easy for me to interact with the audience. But the only difference is like, so back home, you know, challenges with like people coming from work and going to attend the show, traffic, you know, you're thinking about all those things. So not so many people really like, you know, maybe during the week, maybe on a Wednesday evening, want to really go to a show. But here, what I find is like, so maybe you walk downtown, for instance, there are lots of pubs and lots of venues, small venues where musicians would play. So after work, people, you know, go to those places to just unwind, and they come to your show. So you could have somebody who's never heard about you before, and they just want to listen to live music, and they just come there, they see, oh, and they like your stuff, and they follow you from then on. And, you know, so that's just like the only subtle difference compared to back home, where everybody's just like, oh, I want to get home. Because the next day you have to be up by 4 a.m.
The system is,
you know, the system is
draining.
Just exactly. Thank you for helping me out. Yes. But here, like, I mean, it's not like, you know, you don't go to work here as well. You go to work, but, you know, okay, if you wake up 6 a.m., you know your boss leaves at 7 a.m. You know how much time it's going to take you to get. So it's kind of structured. So you're not really burdened with that stress of, oh, if I don't get out of the house now, you know, I'm going to. So
you have that balance.
Exactly.
So they say music is food for the soul. As a service provider, what's the emotion that you aim to communicate, or the general message that you aim to leave with your listeners?
Well, when I'm performing, I want people to travel with me on the experience. So whatever song it is that I'm singing, I want them to be carried along with me when I'm singing that song. So that's one of the reasons why I usually just like get into the crowd, maybe look out for somebody who's really into it and sing to them, and, you know, get them to sing back to me as well, you know. So the music itself, you know, because it's soul music, it's already kind of like emotional in a way. Unlike pop or maybe dance music, where, you know, it's just the drums and the beats and you're just bopping, you know. So it's makes it a little easier to communicate with the audience when you're performing, and get them to come into your own world, you know, and share with them.
So what footprint do you intend to leave on the sands of Canadian music times?
Well, I want people to know me, and know me for my music, in the sense that this guy is the guy that we cannot put in one box. Today is singing jazz, today is, because I've had people ask me that question. Like, there was a time some lady approached me from like a label, and, you know, they wanted to talk and stuff like that. But I'm like, okay, what genre of music do you do? I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Not like I don't know. I didn't say I don't know like that, but like, it's hard for me to
box it,
put it in a box and say, okay, I'm a soul singer, I'm an R&B singer, or I'm an Afrobeat singer. It's everything. I sing whatever comes to me, like, and sometimes it's a pro, sometimes it's a con, you know. But for me, I kind of enjoy it, and also the fact that I'm not signed to a label, it gives me the freedom to do whatever I like.
Yes.
I mean, not to say that I wouldn't want to be signed to a label, you know, but just for the time being, like,
your own boss.
So it helps me, it gives me the freedom to create music however
you want.
And also my ignorance of not being a professional musician. It lets me create in such a way that, okay, so maybe I'm trying to do something, and somebody who studied music will say, oh no, this tune doesn't go with this. I'm like, it sounds good to me.
Right. So you can freestyle.
So do it.
Create.
And then we do it, and it's like, you know what? It's really good. Yeah.
So you're a music inventor then?
Sort of. Sort of. Yeah, because we were doing, like, one of the songs we were working on yesterday with my producer is like a swing. It's like swing music. But then I told him, we're going to add talking drum to this. And he was like, oh, that's really going to be sick. I'm like, yeah. So when we add it, we'll both find out what it comes to.
Right. Well, wishing you all the best
Thank
on
you.
your musical journey, and we will be looking out for that new music.
Thank you.
In the spring of 24.
Yeah, yeah, you will get it.
Thank you for spending time with us at the studio today.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that was Dipo Olubode, an African contemporary act here in Canada. Feel free to check him out on his social media handles. He was talking to us about his life and music in Canada. If you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe to this channel. And for more about community updates, you can send us an email. communityupdateNS@gmail.com is the email address. And I am Modele Akintokun. I will see you soon.
I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Community Update is brought to you with the support of the following organizations, businesses and individuals: Heritage Canada, Canadian Association of Community Television Users and Stations, Cactus, Bailey-O, M4 Media, Flenjor Foods, Sheyi Ajetamobi, and Shokoto.